So as I said in my last video, I wanted to dig a little deeper into the reasons why I sold the Xbox One. I won't lie, there are a few reasons that I still can't quite put my finger on. It's like I dislike things about it, but I kind of don't know why. And I don't know if it's just me or if it's an actual problem with the system and other people hate it as well. There's some things that just don't float my boat, if you catch my drift. It's like we're just not compatible. And that's how I left the other video. I just told you guys me and the Xbox One just weren't compatible. It's like with people. You either click or you don't. If you're dating someone and you have nothing in common and you're just bored to death, it's like you don't click. That's kind of how I felt with the Xbox One. First of all, I just want to thank you guys for checking out the video. Whether you agree with my decision to sell the Xbox One or not, it's all good. Like, you guys just checking out the video and sharing it, liking it, commenting on it. It got the video around, and I was kind of surprised how many people checked it out, and it's just so awesome. I've even got some new subs from that video, so I want to welcome all the new subs to my channel. But there were some comments in the comment section that I kind of want to address and acknowledge and kind of answer to and respond to, because there are some assumptions kind of being thrown around. So I hope this video kind of clears those up so they don't happen anymore. So I'm going to pick out a few comments from that video, and if I say your name, if I use your comment, don't think of it like I'm picking on you. If anything, just think of it like I'm using you as an example, because there were a lot of comments very similar to it. So it's kind of like a general feeling that people had, and I'm going to just kind of wrap it up with your comment if it's used. So I hope you keep that in mind when I go through these comments. The first one I wanted to address is, where is it at? It's from 1987 JDA. And this guy guaranteed I was going to regret selling it. He said, "It's far too early to pass any judgment, but the lack of patience from gamers these days is sad." And man, guaranteed, like that? I'm just gonna regret it for sure? I don't know about that. So far so good. I'm feeling damn good that it's gone and I don't regret it. The thing about that is, you did mention it is early and you can't pass any judgment. And that's the thing. I did mention that in the video. I said it's early. I said I knew full and well going into next gen, whether I got the PS4 or the Xbox One, that it was too early to kind of judge the system. These were investments for the future, meaning I was going to have this system for future games and future use, and it was just to have it already. It was just to kind of be in with all the hype and get it first. And I knew there would be a lack of games. And I'm using your comment because there was a lot of comments telling me it's too early, this is a premature decision, there's no games right now, but they're going to come. I know, like I said that in the video, so I don't know if everybody just chose not to hear that part or whatever. It's YouTube, it happens, it's not a big deal. But I just wanted to re-emphasize that I knew that going in. I knew there weren't going to be a lot of games, and quote-unquote lack of games was not a reason I sold the Xbox One. Flat out, period. It just wasn't. And the real reason, like the main reason that I could think of at the top of my head, and the reason that had me wanting to sell it so bad, was the fact that it was sitting there for almost a month and I didn't even want to turn it on. Like, it was to the point I didn't even want to input my Netflix information to use Netflix. I didn't want to do anything on it. And that was a huge problem for me, considering when I think back to past consoles that I bought at launch, for example, the GameCube and the Wii. I know those are Nintendo systems, so I'm not trying to compare the companies or start an even bigger console war here. But I can't help but compare those experiences because it's the only ones I have for launch systems. And me buying a system at launch. I bought the GameCube at launch, loved the crap out of it. I had only one game, and that was Wave Race. I ended up buying more games, but for launch, I only had that one game. And then the Wii, I just had Zelda at launch, and of course Wii Sports, which was the S at the time. Everybody was playing that, and we were having a good time with it. I was spending a lot of hours on these systems, and the Xbox One, I didn't even want to turn it on. So that to me was just like a huge problem and a huge red flag. And people are saying, you know, it's too early, it was premature. The thing is though, if you have to put yourself in my shoes, I had to act fast because let's just say I waited and held onto the system and waited for Titanfall, or I waited for Quantum Break or these other games. That risk of still feeling the same and still not wanting to play it was too high. I could not risk it. I had to act now and sell it now when I could get as much money as I can, because if I were to wait and try and sell it later, it probably would have been harder to sell, and I probably most likely would have got less money for it. Some other people were commenting, Wild Horse 74, you pretty much kind of said the same thing. You said, no wonder you claimed there was no games. You only had 2 games. Again, when I bought the GameCube back in the day, I only had Wave Race. And this was back before online play and before these features and the Kinect and all this next-gen stuff. And I was having a blast just with 1 game. So that whole thing about me only having 2 games, when in reality it was really 3, because Killer Instinct could count as the 3rd game. How is that not enough? How is that not enough? Plus the Kinect and plus these features and Blu-ray and Netflix and all these other things I could do with the Xbox One. How is that not enough? You can't make the argument, really. But I do appreciate the comment. You know, like I said, I'm not picking on anybody. I just wanted to address these comments because I feel I went too easy on the Xbox One in that video. When I told you guys I sold it, I didn't really give you concrete reasons because honestly, I didn't have a concrete list. I didn't have an exact list of everything I hated and the things I liked and the things I didn't like. It's just I knew it wasn't for me. And I just kind of wanted to just say, hey, you guys, I'm over it. I sold it. Time to move on. But after seeing some of these comments, I felt like, maybe I should clear this all up. Tyrone Brown, you had a good comment. You actually assumed that if I had bought the PS4 instead, that I would have sold it as well, and you are absolutely correct. The only difference is with the PS4, because it was cheaper, I think I would have not been as upset with not selling it, because for almost like 2 weeks of having the Xbox One on Craigslist, I wasn't getting any interest. No calls. If anything, people were texting because they wanted to trade games or they wanted just my games. They didn't want the console. So I was kind of borderline freaking out, like, man, I'm gonna be stuck with this thing. Whereas with the PS4, I think my mentality would have been a lot different. I think I would have been more like, well, it's okay, I'll just keep it and I'll just wait. It's not a big deal. And a lot of that has to do with the price and just the fact that that system is so simple with the UI and is so simple with everything about it that it's clean in that way. And the Xbox, I think there's just too much going on. The Xbox One, I mean, there's too much going on. And it makes it frustrating, it makes it confusing, and hard to use in some ways. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit. But Tyrone Brown, yeah, I agree with your comment. You were totally right. But like I said, just different mentalities. I probably would have been more optimistic with the PS4. Dreadhead, you had a great comment too. You had a list of all the reasons that I sold the Xbox One. How did you know these reasons? Now, some of them I really do agree with though, especially your first one, which was 15 minutes to an hour to install and play your game. First of all, I want to know, Dreadhead, what game of yours took only 15 minutes? I am super jealous because I kid you not, every game that I installed or I saw being installed was at least 40 minutes. I think Battlefield 4 and Forza were around 45 minutes. Rise was, no joke, an hour and a half. 2K was at least an hour. And I swear, there's nothing bigger of a buzzkill than when you're with your friends or your family and you know, someone brings over a game that you haven't installed yet and you have to wait over an hour just to play it. The install times for the Xbox One are absolutely horrendous. And I know it varies from person to person, console to console. I've seen people say it only takes a half an hour. I've seen people say it takes over an hour. It varies from different, you know, from every game. Doesn't matter. The install times for the Xbox One need to be fixed. Microsoft really needs to get their S together when it comes to this. You have it at the top of the list, Dreadhead, and it's definitely at the top of mine. The install times are ridiculous on the Xbox One. It is bad. You also mentioned the broken UI. Can't send voice messages, broken invites, and party system can't check on HD space or battery status. Yes, 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 and yes. I have to say yes to all of those. Especially, I mean, I just facepalm for the battery status, because how are you going to go from the 360 where you can just press the Xbox button and see your battery to the Xbox One where For one thing, it's bad enough we have to still use batteries, but on top of that, we can't even see how much juice is in those batteries. So your controller would just die without you being prepared for it. To me, it was a step backwards. And a lot of things with the UI I felt were a step backwards from the 360. The invite system, the party system was perfect on the 360. I know it wasn't at first. They had to, of course, get to that point. But why would you go backwards? Why would you not continue where we left off with how beautiful that party system was? It makes no sense to me. And I know that Microsoft has claimed they're going to fix some of this stuff. So stay tuned for that. If you have an Xbox One, I'm happy for you guys because I want them to fix this for you. But for me, this, I think, it just contributed to my displeasure with the system. It wasn't fun. It was more problematic and more frustration than fun. I mean, I would be in Battlefield 4 and I'd be trying to get my friends in there and we couldn't even start a party chat. Like two of us, like there would be 3 people, but one of us, we couldn't hear them. Or it would just be like failed attempt after failed attempt and it would take like 20 minutes just to get one going in the first place, and then one person, we wouldn't hear them. It was just so frustrating, and it was more problems than fun. It was more frustrating, and I think that just added to my displeasure with the system. Even though I know that these things might get fixed and it's early and all this and that, it contributed, that's the word I wanted, it contributed to me not wanting to even turn it on. And that goes back to what I was saying in the beginning of the video. That's a problem. If I don't want to turn the system on, that's pretty bad. And then on top of that, I was going back to the 360. I went back to the PS3, my 3DS. I had a blast with Zelda Link Between Worlds. That game, I think, was like the light. It just opened my eyes like, Erica, how dare you go back to the Xbox One after this? How could you? It's impossible. And it really was. I'd get off Zelda and look at my Xbox One and it was just impossible to turn that thing on. I couldn't do it. It was impossible. So that had a lot to do with it. I want to credit Zelda for reminding me what greatness really is. And yeah, so I hope this kind of clears up, you know, where I'm coming from when it came to the Xbox One. The only way I could sum it up is it just wasn't for me. And some people were asking me about the Kinect and if it was gimmicky, did that ruin the experience? It didn't necessarily ruin the experience, but yes, it could come off as gimmicky. To me, it just came off as something I didn't need. At first, when I first bought the Xbox One and before when I was planning on buying it, I didn't mind the Kinect in there. I knew it was going to be better, and it did turn out to be better than the first one. The technology is straight up awesome. I mean, I can admire it, but as a gamer, it does nothing for our gaming needs. Whether you're casual or hardcore, you don't need the Kinect to game. You don't need it. And that started to hit me when I had the console, maybe after the honeymoon phase, maybe after the first week. It started to hit me like, man, I really don't need this thing. I don't. And that's the only thing I could really say about the Kinect. Everything else, I mean, it worked fine. The console worked fine. The controller was fine. It wasn't broken or anything like that. It just, this system was not for me, and I'm very, very happy I sold it. You guys have no idea. Just having that extra money in my pocket to use for school and whatever. Some people were assuming it's only a financial thing, that it was only a personal thing, and it had nothing to do with the system. No, let's be real here. Let's be honest. It had a lot to do with the system. I just kind of wanted to throw that in there about the money because I wanted extra money and I'm not broke. I think some people are assuming that too. No, that's not the case. It's just that I looked at it like that's a $600, if I add everything up with the games and everything, over $600 just sitting there. That's how I looked at it. And I couldn't do it anymore. I had to get that money back because I've been using that money already kind of like on better things, and I'm so much happier with that decision, just using that money on something else. It was about being content, and I was not content looking at that Xbox One. It just bugged the crap out of me. I had to get rid of it. So I hope that kind of clarifies a lot for you guys. I hope you guys like this video and it's not too long. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you guys think. If you have an Xbox One, don't let this change your opinion. Obviously, if you love the Xbox One, continue loving it. I'm not here to tell you what to do with your money. I'm not here to tell you, hey, I sold mine, so you should sell yours. It's horrible. No, this was just my experience, and I wanted to share it with you guys so that way you understand why I don't have Xbox One content here and why I sold it. So that's really the reason for this. I'm not trying to, bash it, or I'm not trying to, tell you guys what to do or how to feel about something. We're all different, we're all unique, and we all have our own opinions, and that's for you to make. You have your own opinion, create it. Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you all later. Peace.